Hiding a zombie, in times like these, is no easy task. Even the most trivial scandal, something as harmless as an affair, spreads like wildfire through the whispers of noble gossip. So imagine what would happen if word got out that a noble family's child had turned into a zombie. The chaos would be unimaginable. It would have been nice if there were someone to seek advice from, but truly, who in the world could one ask about such a matter? Who could possibly offer guidance to someone whose family had suddenly produced a zombie? And so, our female protagonist takes it upon herself to create something unprecedented, a guide for beginners on how to hide a zombie. The scene unfolds in the grand ballroom of the Eisen Empire, glittering beneath chandeliers that cast golden light across polished marble floors. The nobility of the realm gather, their laughter delicate, their masks of courtesy flawless. Amid the lively chatter, someone remarks on how radiant Lady Sarah's skin looks that evening, smooth and pale, almost porcelain-like. Sarah Walker, the Duke's third daughter, smiles gracefully at the compliment, unaware that her flawless complexion has drawn curious eyes. From behind her, a cheerful voice interjects, praising the observer's keen perception and commending Sarah's recent devotion to beauty care. The speaker is Emily Walker, the Duke's fourth child, bright, charming, and ever observant. Emily teases lightly, remarking that Sarah has even become obsessed with her new ruby earrings. The nearby noble lady admired them in awe, whispering that the gems must be top-grade rubies, rumored to have come from the fabled Holdman mines. Tip number 1: zombies have unnaturally pale skin, so pay special attention to makeup. Emily's gaze drifts toward her brother Isaac, the Duke's second child. The man with him points that his hands appear unnaturally cold. Millie's mind races. Tip number 2: zombies possess low body temperatures, so avoid physical contact as much as possible. Before suspicion can arise, Emily intervenes swiftly and hands over a drink to Isaac. Isaac casually remarks that his hands are cold because he had been holding a cup of ice for too long. Just as Emily begins to breathe again, a sharp crash echoes through the ballroom. A servant has dropped a wine glass. The man panics and apologizes to the Duke, fearing reprimand. Instantly, Emily's pulse quickens. Her instincts take over as she grabs a nearby cloth, soaks it in wine, and wraps it firmly around Isaac's hand before anyone can see. Tip number 3: zombies do not bleed, so never allow them to be injured in public. The Duke Leon Walker, the firstborn and head of the family, observes her quick action with subtle approval. In a low voice, he commends her presence of mind. The Marquis hurries to his side, expressing concern for the Duke himself, but Leon waves it off calmly. The situation, though tense, is now under control. With composed grace, Leon excuses his family from the gathering, citing the incident as reason enough to leave early. As the carriage departs, the 4 siblings sit in uneasy silence. Emily wonders if anyone listening to this guide would ever need it. Surely, such knowledge feels unnecessary, absurd, even. But then again, who can predict what fate will bring to one's doorstep? Only a week ago, Emily herself would have laughed at the very thought. 1 week earlier, the night had been still and deceptively calm. Emily lies on the forest floor, dazed, her body trembling as she tries to comprehend what just occurred. Her family had been traveling together to celebrate the youngest sibling's academy entrance ceremony. In haste, they decided to take a shortcut through the woods, pressed for time. The journey began lightheartedly. Isaac had made a teasing comment about Levi gaining weight, and laughter had filled the carriage. But the moment was fleeting. Without warning, the carriage lurched violently. Isaac's instincts, sharp and unhesitating, had driven him to shove Emily out the window just before the crash. Now, lying amidst shattered branches and fallen leaves, Emily's mind reels. What about Isaac? What about Sarah? Her heart races as she forces herself to her feet. Through the haze, she sees figures emerging, men in dark robes, their faces hidden. One of them speaks in a chillingly calm tone. They remark that it appears everyone inside the carriage has been crushed beyond recognition. They plan to return home. Emily rises and sees the wreck. The coach lies crushed and mangled, a blackened husk amid shattered timbers. Her eyes widen at the sight of her siblings, each one grievously injured, strewn among the wreckage. For the first time since the journey began, she feels utterly alone. Tears spill down her face as she calls for them, pleading for any answer, her voice thin and raw in the still air. When she calls for Levi the cat, the animal emerges from the carriage with an air of perturbed dignity. He complains inwardly, at least. Emily imagines he does about the disorder of his groomed fur, remarking with feline detachment that humans perish with alarming ease. Levi then focuses on her and asks what she wishes for, addressing her by a name he uses in private, Contractor. Emily forms the impossible plea in her heart and begs him to bring her family back to life. The scene shifts forward to the academy entrance ceremony, already concluded. The Duke's youngest, Adrian, cries in the hall because his siblings had promised to attend and had not appeared. From behind him comes the unexpected sight of Isaac, who explains without the theatrics of direct speech that the carriage had broken down on the way and that help had arrived. Adrian's childish concern turns immediately to relief. He notices Isaac without his customary spectacles and remarks that the absent glasses make his face look unnervingly severe, insisting inwardly that Isaac would be more presentable with them on. Adrian brightens further when he sees Emily, Leon, and Sarah enter the hall. He rushes towards Sarah with unabashed joy at their arrival. Emily, noting that Sarah suffered only from motion sickness and will, therefore, be fine. She congratulates Adrian on his successful entry to the academy. He smiles appreciatively, and the family moves from the public scene back to the mansion, where gravity finally settles over them. Once within the house, the siblings gather and confront Emily about the true state of affairs. Isaac demands to know what Emily has done to them. Emily answers that their present condition is best described as something like zombies. They all grapple with the word zombie and the horrors it conjures. Sarah is distraught, her mind racing. If one of their number is a zombie, does that mean the curse spreads by bite? Does civilization itself tilt toward collapse at such a revelation? Emily calms such fears with as much clarity as she can muster. What the family faces is not the mindless, devouring zombie of fable, it is a different and stranger malady. Emily admits that she acted without consent and that, under ordinary circumstances, she would have sought permission. They were dead. There was no time for doctrine. Sarah, fixating on principle, reproaches Emily for the act of raising the dead without leave. Emily accepts the rebuke but presses on to explain the mechanics. To the astonishment of the assembled family, Emily clarifies that the local saints, those who officially perform miracles and raise the crippled, lack the faculty to perform what she has accomplished. Her gift is of a different order, one that has lain dormant through 23 years of quiet life. Precisely put, it is not simple resurrection. Emily's ability draws near the corpses and exerts dominion over the departed. She subjugates lingering souls, bending them to her will and compelling them to inhabit new vessels. They are neither truly alive nor wholly dead. They are, for the moment, compelled to obey her. The term she uses for the process is stark and clinical, but its implications are anything but. She binds souls and remakes their agency, granting bodies a semblance of motion and purpose under her control. Around her, the family reacts in a dozen conflicting ways: relief at the immediate presence of those who might otherwise have been lost, horror at the moral and metaphysical consequences, and a dawning, practical fear of what it will mean to hide such a thing within the gilded walls of a noble household. The only vessel available is a corpse, so she forces them to inhabit it. Simply put, when the body dies, the soul is meant to leave, but she holds it captive through sheer will. Sarah cannot bring herself to believe that they have truly died, and the others are left speechless, struggling to comprehend the reality before them. Leon's realization dawns first. It means that Emily is a dark mage. It is the only explanation that fits. Isaac snaps his hand in disbelief, demanding how something so impossible could occur, but in doing so, his hand tears away, falling to the ground and crawling on its own toward Emily. The three finally understand the horrifying truth. It has been over 300 years since a dark mage last vanished without a trace, and now, Emily stands before them as one. Their family has long been said to be blessed by God, known through generations for producing those with extraordinary abilities. Yet the so-called blessing bestowed upon Emily manifests as dark magic. If not that, how else could anyone explain the unnatural phenomenon they have just witnessed? Leon reflects that they all died that very day, and Emily through her forbidden power brought them back to life. But there lies a grave problem. The moment a dark mage is discovered, the sentence is immediate execution. Should the Holy See learn of this, none of them will remain safe. Sarah, desperate for a solution, suggests that perhaps they could mark their deaths as accidents, pretend to be dead for now, and live hidden from the world. Would that not be better than exposing Emily's dark magic? Emily, however, foresees the complication. If they proceed with such deception, only Adrian and Emily would remain among the workers. She was never acknowledged as a legitimate child, and therefore the only rightful heir would be Adrian. Yet he is still too young. Who has not reached the age of majority, would be unable to exercise any legal rights. In such a case, the Elder Council, serving as legal guardians, would take control of all affairs, acting as regents and exercising full authority. They would never leave a young child alone, and that means the family's power and safety would vanish. The only plan Emily can devise is one of endurance. For 7 years, until Adrian comes of age, they must do everything in their power to remain undiscovered. Once Adrian turns 18, they might find a way to reclaim what was lost. Isaac doubts whether such a plan is even possible. They can lose an arm simply by being escorted. What would happen if something more severe occurred? The risk of exposure would be constant. Leon insists that they have no choice, they must make it work. There is no other path open to them now. The four stand trapped in a dire predicament, weighed down by the knowledge of their own fragile existence. With an uneasy sigh, Isaac hesitates but then apologizes for bringing up something trivial at such a serious time. He asks whether there might be a way to reattach his severed hand. Emily answers that it is possible, but only temporarily, for the vessel he now inhabits is a corpse, fragile, decaying, and bound to deteriorate. The process will be painful. She bites her thumb until blood wells up, and from that wound she conjures a thread woven of pure magic. With steady focus, she uses the shimmering thread to sew his hand back to his wrist. Isaac is both awed and disturbed, realizing that even his own sister wields the power of a dark mage. Emily recalls how her parents had once warned her to conceal her nature completely, to never reveal her true ability, not even to her family. Perhaps she should have heeded that advice. Yet Leon's calm, resolute gaze meets hers, and his expression holds no fear. He believes she did the right thing. No matter what others may say, he considers her ability a divine grace, a sign that she has chosen a walker blessed by the heavens. She has no reason to lower her head. She nods, accepting his words. Later that night, Isaac and Leon sit together in the dim light of the study, the air heavy with fatigue and unease. Leon explains that they had already installed explosives in the carriage and even confirmed the deaths with their own eyes. Whoever orchestrated the attack will undoubtedly return. They always do. Isaac furrows his brow, wondering aloud who could have been behind such a scheme. Was it the house of Duke Ackman? Or perhaps the blonde royal family? Leon considers the possibilities, his gaze dark and thoughtful. It could very well have been the Holy See, he thinks, for they have long harbored resentment toward their family. In their eyes, God's grace should belong solely to the Holy See, and any other manifestation of divine power is seen as blasphemy. The two men sit in silence for a while, their exhaustion pressing down on them like a weight. The state of their bodies is precarious. Being sustained by dark magic, they are little more than walking corpses. Still, they cannot rest easily, not when another assassination attempt might strike at any time. Isaac finally breaks the silence, muttering that he will submit a leave of absence to the steward tomorrow. Too much has happened in one day, and although fatigue is clawing at him, rest feels like a luxury meant for the living, not for those dragged back from death. Elsewhere, Emily retires to her room. The flickering candlelight throws wavering shadows against the walls as she catches sight of the old sermon lying open on her desk. Her lips curl into a scoff. Grace from God, she murmurs bitterly. The irony of it all stings her, so-called blessing being dark magic, condemned and feared by all. A voice cuts through the silence, low and amused. Grace from God? Which fool would ever call dark magic that? Emily turns sharply toward the sound. Levi continues with a mocking tone, saying that dark magic and divine grace are fundamentally different. She knows this better than anyone, and yet she dared to speak so shamelessly. He tilts his head, his grin widening. Tell him, how does it feel? He asks. Having tasted even a fragment of her almighty power, does it make her want to conquer the continent? Emily is speechless. Why would someone like him make a contract with her? Levi's expression shifts from amusement to outrage. He exclaims that she is the one who summoned him. How could the contractor of such a magnificent being be so indecisive, scrambling through life like a rat just to extend her fragile existence? How utterly pathetic. In truth, the creature that appears to be her pet is no mere animal at all. Levi is a demon, bound to her by a forbidden contract. To avoid violating causality, he inhabits a dead creature's body, a carcass animated only by his will. His true form, however, is something far more fearsome, a being that no mortal should dare behold. Levi confesses that his curiosity had driven him to answer her call. He wanted to see what kind of bloodshed a human like her could unleash after summoning him. But now that he is here, he finds only hesitation and restraint. At this, Emily laughs softly, the sound light and almost mocking. The demon's temper flares. He shouts at her not to laugh, yet the sound seems to grow on him, filling the air with an unfamiliar warmth that irritates him further. He glares at her, declaring that even a lowly black mage like her had managed to summon him. Perhaps he should be the one offended. Emily only arches a brow, remarking that if someone like her could bring forth such a creature, then he might not be in a position to complain. Levi's face contorts in disbelief, his pride wounded. He explodes in outrage, shouting that he will terminate this useless contract immediately. She tells him she is sorry for the inconvenience. The following morning dawns quiet and pale. The four siblings stand together in the courtyard, waiting as Adrian prepares to depart for the academy. When the time comes, they all step forward, offering words of care and farewell as he climbs aboard. The wheels begin to turn, and the carriage rolls down the cobblestone path until it disappears from view. For a long moment, the four remain standing there, silent and still, their gazes fixed on the empty road ahead. Then, they return to the dining hall. The table is set simply, the air heavy with unspoken thoughts. Isaac gathers everyone together, his tone firm as he tells them to listen closely. They all know by now the consequences of their unnatural state, the inability to sleep, the way their bodies deteriorate at an alarming rate. Even simple sensations have dulled to near nothingness. He reminds them that they have probably noticed during meals that they can no longer feel the difference between hot and cold. Sarah adds, attempting to sound lighthearted though her voice wavers, that she can still somehow taste spicy food at least, but her sense of smell seems completely numb. Leon turns toward Isaac and asks if he managed to submit his leave of absence. Isaac nods, explaining that he sent it early in the morning. It should be sitting nicely on the captain's desk by now. Sarah mentions that she has sent hers as well. In her current condition, attempting to brew potions would be nothing short of disastrous. Leon frowns thoughtfully, wondering aloud what the chances are that their leave requests might be rejected. Isaac reassures them that the imperial court never rejects leave requests. It is a long-standing custom, one rarely broken. They should be fine. The Empire would not suddenly abandon tradition now of all times. Emily, who has been quietly listening, plans to discuss the matter herself when she goes to work later that day. If any complications arise, they will need her intervention to handle it discreetly. Leon, ever the realist, admits that he hopes all their requests are approved, but even then, this is only a temporary reprieve, nothing more than borrowed time. If they are to restore their bodies to their original state, higher-level black magic will be required, and that means they must find a way to regain their magical strength. Leon resolves to find a black magic booth somehow so Emily can begin practicing in secret. The four of them have roughly decided how to proceed, a fragile plan formed through sleepless hours the previous night. Yet just as they begin to settle into a sense of direction, a voice calls out from beyond the door. The head butler appears, his expression grave. He bows and announces that there is an urgent matter to report. Leon straightens, his tone cool but wary, asking if it is indeed the head butler and what this matter concerns. The butler hesitates only briefly before delivering the message. The second young master's leave of absence has been rejected. Isaac rises from his seat abruptly, disbelief flashing across his face. What the hell? He demands, his composure slipping. For what reason was it rejected? The head butler lowers his gaze, clearly uncomfortable. It was by order of His Highness, the Crown Prince, he says quietly. The rejection came directly from the Imperial Palace. The room falls into stunned silence. The others exchange uncertain glances, the reality of their situation settling heavily upon them. If the Crown Prince himself has interfered, their plan may already be compromised. Meanwhile, at the palace, Emily arrives later than usual. As she steps through the grand corridors, someone remarks that she is late today. She turns and sees Jamie, a fellow attendant. Offering a polite bow, she greets her and explains that she had some personal matters to attend to. Jamie tilts his head curiously, asking what had happened. Emily sighs lightly, replying that Adrian had been making a fuss about not wanting to go to the academy that morning, which delayed her. She then asks where His Highness the Crown Prince might be. Jamie informs her that he is currently in a meeting but should be arriving shortly. True to her word, moments later, the Crown Prince enters. Both Jamie and Emily bow deeply in greeting. Without much attention to them, the Crown Prince orders that they return to their duties. As the others begin to disperse, Emily remains in place. She lifts her gaze to him and, in a steady voice, says that she has something to discuss. The Crown Prince glances at her, his expression mildly curious. "And what would that be?" he asks. Emily gathers her composure and states that she was hoping to take some time off work. A flicker of surprise crosses his features. "Is the workload too heavy?" he asks, almost amused. She shakes her head, explaining softly that it isn't about that. The Crown Prince studies her carefully, noting how unusual the request is. "She rarely takes vacations," he remarks. "Did something happen that makes she ask for leave now?" Come to think of it, Isaac too had been planning to submit a leave request. Emily wonders if there is some family matter behind it, but he assures her there isn't. She simply thought it would be nice for the family to go on a short vacation together. If an official leave of absence was difficult, she could always use her accumulated vacation days instead. He thinks for a while before answering that it may be difficult. Sir Hawes has ordered him to remain on alert, as the knights might soon need to deploy. He cannot reveal the official reason yet, but since Isaac's leave has fallen through, it would be impossible for the family to go on vacation together. Emily grows stiff at the news, uncertain of what to do next. If Isaac has to stay behind for duty, perhaps she should go to the Imperial Palace herself. Still, she nods in understanding and decides to postpone her vacation for another time. Just then, the door bursts open, and a knight rushes in, shouting that the Crown Prince must come quickly. He barely finishes his words before both the Crown Prince and Emily turn to him in alarm. The sudden urgency makes Emily's heart race, wondering if something has happened to Isaac and fearing, above all, that his secret identity might have already been discovered. The three of them are now seen sitting on the stone stairs. Emily exhales in relief, glad that Isaac's secret has not been found out after all, though she still wonders how the situation managed to escalate so suddenly. Earlier, when the Crown Prince demanded to know what was happening, Warner had reported that Isaac and the head knight were having a sparring match. The ground beneath them trembled with excitement, for this was not a sight to be missed. For years, there had been countless debates within the order over who was truly the strongest knight. Though many boasted and speculated, the two had never fought directly, leaving the matter unresolved. Warner, clearly caught up in the excitement, admitted that he was going to bet on the head knight this time. But upon noticing Emily's presence, he immediately apologized, fumbling that he had, in fact, bet on Isaac the last time, so she should not misunderstand. Emily, anxious about what this might lead to, thinks that if the Crown Prince himself refrains from attending, perhaps this can still be contained quietly. But the Crown Prince stands abruptly, declaring that they should go at once. Warner turns to Emily and says that she may join them if she wishes. She hesitates, uncertain if she can bear to see what might unfold. Under normal circumstances, she would have declined such an invitation, but this time she cannot afford to. The duel must be stopped before it draws too much attention. When they arrive at the training grounds, Isaac and the head knight are already facing each other, swords drawn and tension heavy in the air. Isaac curses himself inwardly for falling for the provocation. The head knight had mocked him earlier, saying he had heard that Isaac's sister, Emily, was nothing but a talentless defect. She had come of age, and he was considering sending her to a decent family, suggesting that perhaps she could be married off soon. He had said it with an infuriating smirk, adding that the family he had in mind only accepted men who married into the household, but he trusted Isaac to handle that minor inconvenience. The words had burned through Isaac's composure, and before he knew it, his blade was raised. Now, standing before the gathered knights and the Crown Prince himself, Isaac realizes he has been drawn into a fight that cannot be easily undone. Isaac grits his teeth, fury burning beneath his calm expression. Emily is not someone who deserves to hear such vile insults. Both sides are now ready to spar, and the tension in the air is palpable. The Crown Prince, observing Isaac's pale complexion, quietly asks Emily if her brother has been ill. The question shocks her completely. She recalls that Isaac mentioned his stomach had been bothering him for a few days, perhaps from something he ate. Warner, overhearing this, nods gravely and remarks that it must be the reason for his sickly appearance. Isaac's face is indeed unnaturally pale. Murmurs ripple through the watching knights. They begin whispering among themselves, wondering if Isaac is truly in good condition to fight. The sudden change in atmosphere shifts sympathy toward him, and many start switching their bets to the head knight instead. The signal is given, and the match finally begins. Steel clashes sharply as the two men engage. The head knight strikes first, his movements heavy and precise, but Isaac dodges with surprising agility. Even so, the head knight quickly notices something is off. Isaac's defense is solid, yet his attacks lack their usual weight. His sword feels far too light, his strength unsteady. The head knight frowns, wondering if Isaac truly cannot put any real power behind his blade. The duel continues, and the sound of metal echoes across the training grounds. Emily watches from the edge, anxiety twisting inside her chest. This can't go on. If Isaac keeps fighting like this, his condition might worsen, or worse, his disguise could falter in front of everyone. She remembers Levy's warnings and curses herself for not listening. Perhaps this is her punishment. Then a sudden thought flashes through her mind, a desperate, risky idea. Maybe this could work. She discreetly summons her black magic, whispering under her breath to the unseen spirit that serves her. "Good boy," she murmurs softly, "go and smash that light fixture up there." If the lamp were to fall, the commotion would give Isaac an opening to end the duel without suspicion. The spirit obeys, darting invisibly toward the overhead light as the duel intensifies. The head knight sneers that Isaac is only dodging like a rat and declares that it's time to end this. Isaac, breathing hard, pleads for him to wait. Using sword aura in a simple sparring match is dangerous, but the head knight ignores him, charging in once more. At that precise moment, the lamp fixture above them trembles and snaps free, crashing down between them with a deafening noise. Gasps fill the hall as everyone instinctively steps back. The crowd murmurs in confusion, wondering why the light would fall at such a crucial moment. When the dust settles, they realize what has happened. The head knight lies on the ground, saved at the last instant by Isaac. The knight, shaken but unharmed, glares at him with frustration and embarrassment, shouting why Isaac would save him. He accuses Isaac of trying to claim that he is not a threat. Then, with a strained laugh, he declares that they will fight again another day. The crown prince steps forward and raises his hand, declaring that the match should end here. It is a miracle no one was injured despite the accident, and there is no need to press their luck further. Isaac bows respectfully and agrees. He orders 2 nearby knights to escort the head knight to the infirmary and assigns the squire, Saturday, to clean the training grounds. Turning back to the crown prince, Isaac requests permission to leave early and return home, promising to have his physician examine him. Seeing his pale and worn expression, the crown prince agrees readily. He tells Isaac to rest well and, as Isaac departs, gives a subtle wink and a thumbs up to Emily, silently praising her for handling things cleverly. A short while later, Emily is seen walking alongside the crown prince through the palace corridors. She sighs softly, her nerves finally easing, though her mind remains restless. The crown prince glances at her and says that it seems she has already realized it. The ducal family has been blessed by the gods for generations, so it is not particularly surprising. That blessing, he explains, is precisely why he had ordered the knighthood to remain on high alert. Emily blinks in confusion, apologizing that she has no idea what he means. The crown prince gives a knowing smile, his tone gentle but deliberate. He says he understands her reluctance to be deeply involved, but if she possesses the ability to read the remnants of black magic, then she must already know what he's referring to. His words strike her like a bolt of lightning. Her breath catches as realization dawns. He knows. He has found out. The crown prince's calm demeanor now feels almost too measured, and she suddenly understands that his invitation to the secluded garden earlier might not have been simple hospitality after all. It might have been a plan, one carefully set to confirm her secret. She drives herself to back away, but Warner is standing there, blocking her retreat. He gives a short, amused laugh that makes her wonder uneasily if she's surrounded. Then, turning toward the crown prince, he remarks in his usual dry tone that His Highness is going to frighten Emily again. He reminds him that he has already mentioned this before. It is because of that expression of his that all the young ladies run away. The crown prince, however, responds calmly that he didn't intend to scare her. Seeing that the atmosphere isn't confrontational, Emily begins to relax a little. It seems she has not been caught doing anything wrong after all. But then Warner shifts his gaze toward her and tells her that she doesn't need to hide it. She can be honest with them. After all, during the sparring match earlier, hadn't she already known that the light fixture was about to fall? She had looked up at the ceiling even before the accident happened. His words leave her startled. Warner continues without hesitation, explaining that they suspect black magic has begun to stir again recently. An internal investigation is already underway, but they are facing all sorts of limitations. The tools used for detection are few in number, most are restricted in function, and nearly all of them can only be used once. He points out that the incident just now fits the same pattern. Just to be sure, he used a measuring instrument, a device designed to detect traces of dark energy, and it confirmed that black magic was indeed present. According to Warner, it seems that the young lady before them possesses a natural sensitivity to this kind of power, a rare ability to sense it instinctively. Then, without warning, he reaches out and takes her hand, his expression earnest as he asks if she would be willing to cooperate with their investigation for that reason. Emily can feel every pair of eyes fixed on her, filled with expectation, and it drives her to the edge of panic. She wonders why they are all looking at her as if she were some kind of divine answer. How is she supposed to refuse under such pressure? The entire situation feels absurd. They are asking someone associated with black magic to help them track black magic. Do these people even realize what they are saying? She is just a mere secretary, an ordinary clerk in all this madness, and now they are involving her in matters of life and death. The crown prince, noticing her hesitation, assures her in a composed, almost casual tone that the palace will, of course, provides separate overtime pay for her cooperation. That remark, as strange as it is, breaks through her daze, and she lets out a faint sigh of resignation. Finally, she agrees. She will do it. Warner nods approvingly and suggests that His Highness should explain the details to her in full. It would be better, he says, if they moved somewhere more comfortable. A short while later, they are seated together in the hall, the air quieter now, though tension still lingers beneath the surface. Emily, trying to make sense of what she has just heard, asks them what exactly they mean when they say that black magic has started to become active again. The Crown Prince answers in a solemn tone that it is precisely as it sounds. They have found several traces indicating that black mages are once again beginning to move. The words make her chest tighten. She recalls that all black mages were imprisoned on a secluded island after the Holy War 300 years ago. The Crown Prince acknowledges this but adds that 300 years is a long time, a span in which nearly anything can be forgotten or erased. The power of the papacy back then, he says, and the power it holds now are vastly different. Warner adds that, ironically, the papacy itself would lose its very purpose without the existence of black mages to oppose. It is that struggle, that balance, which gives it meaning. The Crown Prince continues, explaining that the papacy currently occupies a portion of the Eisen Empire's land as a safeguard, in preparation for the possible resurrection of the black mages. Every 100 years, they renegotiate the contract governing this land and the accompanying treaties. And as it happens, this very year marks the time of renegotiation once again. His words hang in the air, heavy and foreboding, the weight of centuries pressing down on all of them as the realization settles in what was thought to be buried 300 years ago may now be stirring once more. In that case, the Empire intends not to renew the contract on the upcoming renegotiation date. That much is certain. The Crown Prince confirms it without hesitation. Emily, however, recalls what he said earlier and frowns slightly. He had mentioned finding traces that a black mage, or rather, black magic, was moving again. Warner responds before the Crown Prince can, his tone steady and matter-of-fact. The most challenging part, he explains, is that black mages look no different from ordinary people. They blend into society, indistinguishable from everyone else. Only clerics possess the ability to sense the remnants of black magic. The measuring instrument they rely on, he adds, was created by the papacy itself. Therefore, if the papacy insists that black magic has appeared somewhere, the Empire has no other way to confirm or deny it. It means that they are not acting because they have uncovered some grand conspiracy regarding the land contract, but simply because traces of dark energy have been detected. In a way, this is fortunate for them. The imperial family has no means of locating black mages without the papacy's assistance. Emily, listening in silence, understands that all she needs to do is play along properly and not draw suspicion. Warner continues, explaining that the most recent trace was discovered near the middle of the mountain range. The words make her choke unexpectedly, and she nearly spits out the tea she had been sipping. Warner's brows rise slightly, and he asks if she's all right. She forces a small smile and replies that she was just surprised, because those mountains aren't far from the capital. Exactly, Warner agrees. They're located to the west of the city. If one crosses that range, they'll reach the next province immediately. Many merchants and travelers move through that path every day, so this development is quite serious. Emily's thoughts immediately go to her younger brother. She blurts out that her sibling travels to the academy frequently and takes that route almost every week. Warner assures her there's no need to worry. The capital guards have already increased security in the entire region, and the place where the trace was found is a considerable distance from the usual commuting road. Even so, Emily cannot shake her unease. She remembers vividly that she once took a shortcut through that very area, bouncing along a rough mountain path in a carriage. Warner mentions that when he went there himself, the measuring instrument reacted violently, emitting a red light and a whining sound, the unmistakable sign that traces of black magic lingered in the air. The Crown Prince seems satisfied with this explanation and concludes that it is enough for now. Then, in his usual calm but commanding tone, he tells Emily to go back to the mansion and pack her bags. Early tomorrow morning, they will depart for the mountains directly. He needs her to visit the site personally and determine whether the traces detected there are genuine. Emily blinks in disbelief. Tomorrow? She asks, almost in protest. But tomorrow is the holiday. That's precisely why they are going, the Crown Prince replies. If they both leave during the week, it will draw unwanted attention. She can only sigh, thinking that he must be the worst superior she has ever met. With a resigned nod, she agrees. Later that night, back at the mansion, Emily lies sprawled on her bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. Her mind races with everything that has happened. If Isaac's test results had truly worsened today, it might not have been just fatigue, it could have been caused by black magic interference. The thought unsettles her. If only she were a skilled black mage herself, she could have reinforced Isaac's body, strengthened him from within, and perhaps prevented his deterioration entirely. She sits up and calls out softly, "Levi." The familiar whisper of the dark spirit fills the room almost instantly, his voice smooth and mocking. Why is she calling him now? He asks. Emily meets his invisible gaze and, after a brief pause, says, "Teach her some black magic." Levi chuckles darkly, his tone full of intrigue. "Oh, she finally ready to receive the body-grade technique?" She doesn't answer immediately, only frowning in thought. Levi sighs, almost disappointed. It would have been better if she had listened to him sooner, he says. Her siblings wouldn't have ended up in such a pitiful state. Emily clenches her fists. She still isn't certain if what she's doing is right, but she needs power desperately. For Isaac's sake. Her voice trembles slightly as she asks, "Is there any black magic that can make something permanently strong? Something that can stop a person from weakening or wasting away?" Levi's laughter fades, replaced by a cold seriousness. "There is only one way to prevent a body from weakening and rotting," he says quietly. "She must offer a sacrifice." Emily's breath catches. "A sacrifice? And it must be the corpse of a human one that has just died." She asks him if there is truly no other way, and he explains that if not, she will have to learn to control her demonic energy freely, a process that will require time and patience. He notes that she is, in fact, a born dark sorcerer. Even if her training has lapsed over the years, the demonic energy that has coursed through her since childhood must have awakened again. How this energy manifests differs for every dark sorcerer. Some, like her, can raise the dead, others can invade the minds of others, some can even transform parts of their own bodies into demonic creatures. To begin, she must practice properly extracting her demonic energy or offering a sacrifice. She thinks that he could simply teach her in detail how to stretch and manage her demonic energy. The next day, they find themselves in the garage. Warner notes that they have not yet arrived, suggesting that she may rest a bit longer. She apologizes, admitting she did not sleep well the previous night. Warner acknowledges her distress, understanding that after the revelations of yesterday, her mind must be troubled. Yet the reality remains that Levi expended so much demonic energy yesterday that fatigue is inevitable. When their companions finally arrive at the destination, Warner helps her step down from the carriage. She notices that the place has been left in a disheveled, rat-infested state, which only deepens her suspicion. Warner inquires if she can see the red signal, indicating something amiss. It appears there may have been an accident, yet no nearby guards have reported anything. The Crown Prince reflects that an accident involving this much blood should have resulted in injuries, yet no patient has appeared at the nearby clinic. The presence of blood-stained remnants suggests someone was indeed here, yet there is no sign of wounded individuals, no law enforcement reports, and no traces of dark magic remain. He begins to suspect that innocent Imperial citizens may have been taken as materials for dark magic. Emily considers his words and concludes that he is partially correct. They have indeed been used as materials. When he asks her what she knows, she realizes she cannot answer. If she admits the truth, it would prove that dark sorcery is real, but if she denies it, the papal office would accuse their family of blasphemy. She feels trapped, uncertain of what she is supposed to do. She is about to speak, but he interrupts her, instructing her to stop, and turns to Warner. He senses that an unwelcome guest has arrived. The Crown Prince instructs Emily to stay close and not stray from him, while Warner assures them that he will handle the situation personally, asking them to remain in the garage. There are 5 of them, and the Crown Prince questions Warner if he can manage alone. Warner, confident and composed, assures him that he can. The Crown Prince takes Emily by the hand, assuring her that he will leave the rest to Warner. The 2 of them settle into the carriage while Warner confronts the threat outside. The Crown Prince tells her not to worry. He is uncertain where the leak originated, but such uninvited guests are not uncommon. Emily asks if these incidents happen often. He explains that they likely cannot tolerate the idea of a heretic son ascending to the throne. He reflects that Tristan, the soldier of the vast empire spanning a quarter of the continent, was the current emperor's only son with no siblings. Tristan was sent early as Crown Prince, without the struggle of succession, yet nothing in this world comes easily. His mother had converted to the imperial faith, but her origins in the Tile Kingdom caused friction due to differing religions, a convenient pretext for conspiracy. He notes that the situation has quieted down, appearing as though it has been resolved. Emily notices the exhaustion etched on his face. Even the ever-perfect Crown Prince is still human. As they step out of the carriage, a foul stench of blood fills the air. Warner shields Emily's eyes, remarking that such a sight is unsuitable for a lady. The Crown Prince inquires if there are any survivors. Warner responds that they all took their own lives, capturing them was impossible, and even if they had succeeded, it would have changed little. He asks what should be done with the bodies. The Crown Prince instructs him to bury them, reasoning that stirring up trouble will yield nothing good. Warner, turning Emily away, explains that he came prepared, even bringing shovels from the garage. He sets off to retrieve them while Emily peeks, contemplating that the fallen soldiers could have been used as offerings. To simply bury them feels like a waste. Later, Warner calls out to her. She apologizes, explaining that she feels dizzy and asks if she may rest inside the carriage. The Crown Prince pauses, then asks if she can sense the remnants of black magic around her. Emily sighs, questioning whether it is fair to ask someone faint-hearted to perceive such things. Perhaps he should give her a moment to recover. Yet she can read his thoughts clearly and understands his intent. She admits that she has debated whether to reveal this, fearing that her answer could change too many outcomes. Seeing that His Highness has likely already guessed, she can no longer hide it. In this forest, she cannot feel anything at all. She wonders if she said the right thing, uncertain whether her response was wise. The ground sizzles slightly, confirming what he had suspected. The entire scene was orchestrated by the Holy See. Even the accident itself had been a trap, designed to lure them here. Warner wonders aloud how he can be so certain. The Crown Prince points out a man with a holy mark engraved on the back of his neck, the clearest proof that he belongs to the Holy See, a brand bestowed upon the servants of God. The mark gradually fades over time, so even if they were dragged to the court immediately, by the time the coroner examined it, it would appear as little more than an indistinct scar. Warner commends the cleverness of the act. The perpetrators had erased the evidence while leaving a warning, ensuring that there was nothing left to see. He tells them that they should return. Emily asks about the dead body. Warner says he will bury it for now and have the cleaning team handle the rest later. She considers it a shame to waste such a valuable opportunity, thinking that if she lets this corpse go now, she may never encounter another like it. In a world filled with light, darkness must exist as well. After the Holy War, the beloved empire had entered an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity. Yet, some novels and thrill seekers began to crave more excitement, which naturally created business for the empire's underground. Consequently, the underworld evolved into the largest black market on the continent. Because the dirty money of these networks was tied to various noble factions, it was said even the imperial family could only watch, unable to root them out. In reality, they had simply given up. The head of the black market, known as Trump, maintained his dominion, turning the underworld into a grand playground for those daring enough to play within it. One day, a young man arrives at Trump's establishment, announcing that a guest has come to see him. Trump remarks that he has no consultation scheduled today, but the young man insists that the guest arrived without an appointment. Trump shouts in frustration, incredulous that someone would appear unannounced. The young man clarifies that the guest is no ordinary visitor. Leon, observing the exchange, asks if this is how Trump treats his guests. Trump suddenly rises, noticing a robe made of luxurious fabric and shoes crafted by a famous designer clear signs of nobility. He exclaims that had he known someone of such standing was visiting, he would have greeted them personally, and inquires what brings such distinguished guests to his humble establishment. Emily cannot believe that Leon even knew of a place like this. Leon reassures her back at the mansion that she was right not to touch the corpse, otherwise, the Crown Prince might have detected her scent. Yet she still feels she needs a cover. Leon asks her to put on her coat, indicating that they will handle matters themselves. Now standing in Trump's domain, Leon turns to him, recalling something important. He notices a token of him noble patronage and realizes that he has not forgotten the promise he made to his predecessor. Trump, seeing the token for the first time in person, declares that anyone who presents it deserves nothing less than to have their requests granted without question, simply honored with respect. The syndicate had been founded long ago after encountering a great benefactor. Before this mysterious figure departed, however, they had stolen the syndicate's double ledger, a collection of records best left buried. The contents of these documents were dangerous, capable of causing immense trouble if ever revealed, even including seemingly trivial matters like the shipment of perfume cortisone. Trump, overwhelmed by the weight of this responsibility, turns to Leon for guidance, seeking clarity. Leon's presence commands authority, and the atmosphere thickens with unspoken expectations as Trump anticipates the bargaining to come. John muses silently, guessing that Trump might request insights into imperial corruption or perhaps seek real estate advice of immense value. Despite the potential loss, Trump resolves that if keeping the ledger's secrets intact safeguards the syndicate, it is a sacrifice worth making. Trump makes a specific request. He needs a corpse drum. Leon immediately corrects him, emphasizing that a human corpse is required. The order is exacting, yet Trump remains determined. He has already gathered every scrap of information available on black magic, fully aware that such knowledge would warrant immediate execution if discovered. Given that black magic is considered dangerous, with its artifacts of the old ways strictly forbidden since the Holy War, the task's gravity cannot be overstated. When asked about his intentions with the information, Leon curtly dismisses the question, stating it is none of Trump's concern. A tense exchange follows. Trump considers refusal, even imagining a sword pressed to his throat, but Leon's silent insistence leaves no room for hesitation. Overcome with resolve, Trump cancels all doubts and pledges to complete the task to the best of his ability. Leon instructs him to report any progress through a communicator and to ensure that the corpse is delivered by the end of the week. With a final nod, Leon departs, leaving Trump standing there, tears streaming and voice trembling in despair. Emily, witnessing the scene, quietly offers words of encouragement, though her concern lingers. She wonders silently whether Trump will truly be able to endure the ordeal. Later, the two of them walk through the town together. Emily remarks on the familiarity of the road, questioning whether Leon has been there before. He admits that he has passed through a few times, accompanied by his squire. As they continue, Leon holds her hand firmly, feeling compelled to voice a sentiment he rarely expresses. He senses that Emily has always kept her emotions tightly sealed, never revealing her inner thoughts. Despite the confession feeling foolish, he believes that now there is no need for secrecy, the mansion no longer holds any mysteries he cannot comprehend. In the face of hardship, family should be the anchor, and she no longer needs to hide what she feels. Emily smiles softly, acknowledging his sentiment, though Leon senses that she may not fully grasp its depth. She offers an apology, quietly expressing regret for the pain she has caused over time. Leon begins to respond, attempting to articulate his thoughts, but their moment is abruptly interrupted. Apples spill from a passing cart, startling them both. A nearby man, managing his horse, apologizes hurriedly for the disruption. Emily instinctively checks on Leon, fearing he might have been caught in the chaos, only to find him gone. She finds herself alone, wandering amid the scattered apples, bewildered and uneasy. Her eyes scan the surroundings as she wonders aloud why these strange, restless zombies cannot remain still even for a moment. A stranger's proddy finger breaks the silence. A man leans in and asks if she is lost. Emily admits the suspicion is fair. Anyone would see the man as odd, but with so many eyes about, outright theft would be unthinkable. She laughs off the encounter and explains that she drifted away from her group and is a little turned around. Curiosity keeps the man close. He presses on, lowering his voice. He wants to know one thing: how she managed it when they were young. The question widens her eyes. There is something in his gaze that makes her uneasy. At that precise moment, Leon's voice calls through the crowd. He has been searching for her. Emily blurts out that it was not she who vanished, but he who disappeared. She turns to point out the man who spoke to her only to find he has melted away as mysteriously as he arrived. She asks Leon if he saw the person. He only remembers a passerby. The dissonance sharpens. Levi, who has been nearby, corroborates that there was no one around at the time of the carriage incident. He had checked. The way Leon and Levi speak, as if they had witnessed the accident scene itself, nags at Emily's mind. Levi presses the matter. The man she described knew her and seemed aware of the carriage accident. That detail intrigues him. Could such perception be possible? Leon answers that, yes, it is possible for skilled practitioners of black arts, those who have learned to conceal their presence. He mentions the Holy See and the families that hold old grudges, the same gloomy factions who have not changed. Emily points out that practitioners of demonic arts usually recoil from holy power. They would not be able to detect it so readily. Levi counters that many have learned to mask their divine signature. He suggests, gently and almost accusingly, that she herself is excellent at hiding her demonic energy. Perhaps her power has evolved into camouflage for survival. Even a high-ranking Slavic standing before her might be uncertain of what she truly is. Emily bristles at his implication. He has gone back to his old scolding tone. Isaac scoffs in the background at the merchant's absurd name, and the conversation spirals. Sarah warns that if they are discovered, execution will be immediate not only for them, but for every family tied to them. Annihilation would follow. Isaac recoils, The casualness with which she speaks of such finality shakes Emily. Someone, an unnamed woman, gave him a name, warned him not to go near the office, and bolted the door. It seems every precaution that can be taken has been taken. Emily resolves to act at once. Isaac's case is the most urgent, she decides, so she will treat him first. She lets her magic fall away like a cloak, the air answers and a magical circle blooms beneath her feet, its lines pulsing with light. She begins to recite the incantation, voice steady as the power gathers and shapes itself. The ritual unfurls, energy threads weave through the circle and hum with intention. She turns to Isaac and asks, quietly but insistently, if he is all right. Emily calls out to him, but he is not there. At last, she opens her eyes and finds Isaac standing before her. His presence feels strange, almost otherworldly, and he seems stronger than before. Yet, there is a thirst about him, not of the ordinary kind. When she offers him a drink, he declines, explaining that the thirst he feels is of a different nature, something deeper and more obscure. Curious and concerned, she asks about his wrist. He replies that it feels better now, as long as he avoids a direct contest of strength or will. A head-on struggle could still harm him, but otherwise, he is stable. Turning her attention to the rest of her family, she asks Leon if he and Sarah are well today. Leon responds cautiously, saying that they must wait and observe Isaac's progress. They do not know what kind of enhancement has overtaken him or what effects might follow. Her concern shifts to the other body, lying dormant and mysterious. Leon informs her that it will be placed in the cellar. Sarah and Isaac exchange surprised glances and ask for clarification. Leon explains that the cellar was originally constructed as a safe house for emergencies, always kept cold, making it the ideal place to store a body that must be hidden from sight. Isaac nods, approving of the plan, but when asked where exactly the cellar is, he surprises them by opening a secret passage and revealing the hidden chamber. Emily cannot believe that such a secret exists in their home. Isaac insists he will move the body immediately and that they can leave the entire task to him, always thinking that these kinds of situations belonged only to fairy tales. As he begins maneuvering the body through the passage, a miscalculation causes not only the corpse but also part of the wall to tumble down. Sarah shouts in shock and outrage, demanding to know what he is doing. Isaac quickly apologizes, promising to clean up the mess. Emily, however, interrupts him and asks him to wait. Her sharp eyes catch a detail, a stigma engraved on the nape of the corpse's neck. Through her perception, she discerns that it is connected to the crown prince. She recalls that stigma patterns fade gradually over time, but even now, the mark is telling. If this were discovered in a court of law, it could be disastrous. In the same instant, through the communicator, Trump's voice crackles with news. He explains that the corpse is of extraordinary value, top grade, and that he had considerable difficulty obtaining it. When asked how he managed it, Trump describes a herbalist he knows, someone who often ventures into restricted mountain zones. There, the herbalist claimed, a body had been buried in the center of the mountains. The four siblings are left reeling, overwhelmed by the implication. Everything is wrapped, hidden, and yet fraught with danger. Sarah blurts out a question, stunned. Have they intercepted the body of the crown prince's assassin? He replies that the royal disposal unit must have come up empty, and that reports have likely already gone up the chain. Yet, they have had enough time to narrow down the potential suspects. Sarah asks if they are doomed. Leon warns it is too early to assume the worst. He notes that Emily's name would probably top any list of potential culprits, but without concrete proof, the authorities will likely try to gauge her reaction first before taking action. Turning to Emily, Leon asks if she can manage such a precarious situation. Calm and composed, she assures Leon that he need not worry. After all, she has always been adept at talking her way out of nearly impossible circumstances, and she knows that skill will now be tested like never before. The next day, Jamie approached Emily, curiosity clear in her eyes, and asked how she had spent her weekend. Emily replied simply that she had spent it with her family, and then asked Jamie in return. Jamie's expression darkened slightly as she admitted that her own relationship with her family wasn't good, so she had spent the weekend alone. She shifted the conversation quickly, asking Emily if she had heard the latest rumor. The whispers suggested that the Vatican was sending someone of exceptionally high rank to the imperial court. Preparations were already underway, and the protocols indicated that the visit would be grand, likely involving someone of cardinal rank. Jamie admitted that she had only ever seen a cardinal from afar during a Black Star Mass, and Emily could only imagine the significance of such a visit. Emily's mind immediately began racing, wondering if the visit was connected to the renewal of territorial contracts, or perhaps tied to the distant assassination plots that had recently shaken the empire. Could the Vatican even be aware that the corpse involved in those plots might have been taken by someone from the black market? Before she could dwell further, the gate opened and the Crown Prince himself entered. He greeted them with a wave before taking his seat behind his desk. Warner soon approached Emily, placing a stack of papers on her desk. He explained that the Crown Prince had asked for a few details to be revised. One document caught Emily's eye immediately. It was marked with a note indicating that the lady hides a zombie. Her heart skipped a beat, but she tried to remain composed. Later, the three of them sat down to a meal together. Warner politely asked Emily if she found the meal to her taste, and she replied that it was delicious, though she curiously inquired why she had been asked separately. The Crown Prince's tone grew serious as he revealed that the body had disappeared early that morning. The disposal unit had been dispatched to the mountains, yet the corpse was nowhere to be found. He considered the possibility that the method by which she retrieved it might have been responsible, though he noted that traces of such stigma vanished quickly. The body had been important enough that anyone involved would have avoided unnecessary conflict, and only the three of them knew its exact location. He asked Emily whether she had told anyone about that day. Emily, startled and mortified at the suggestion, dropped to the floor in a reflexive gesture of apology. She insisted that she truly knew nothing and could not have spoken of such matters aloud. Warner quickly moved to reassure her, gently asking her to stand, explaining that there was no intention to interrogate her. Emily glanced up at the Crown Prince, who remained calm, though she suspected in her heart that he knew more than he let on. She stammered, admitting that she could not prove her innocence. How could one prove a truth about something they had never done? Swearing before the Lord, she insisted she knew nothing of the matter. The Crown Prince's gaze softened on her, while Warner, sensing her panic, tried to calm her down. Emily felt his hand gently wipe away the tears she hadn't realized had fallen. He reassured her that she had been startled for no reason. Still, the Crown Prince could not help but think that perhaps the way the corpse had been taken was indeed deliberate. Emily, regaining her composure, told Warner that she would return his handkerchief soon, along with the one he had lent her previously. Though he assured her there was no need to return it, she blushed faintly, insisting that she would. Since he had begun to suspect her, she knew she needed to prepare her own countermeasure. She planned to cast black magic on the handkerchief so that she could use it when needed back at home. Later, Emily was quietly embroidering when a maid approached her, noticing the unusual silence and concentration on her work. The maid asked if something was troubling her. Emily demurred, saying it was nothing. The maid, however, pressed gently, observing that Emily's habit of embroidering in silence often indicated inner turmoil. Recently, the young master had also spoken to Emily privately and sent her away, leading the maid to suspect that something significant had happened. She offered her support, insisting that if Emily ever needed help, she should not hesitate to ask. Emily remained quiet, her mind elsewhere. Her thoughts shifted as she remembered the purpose of the maid's visit. A message had been delivered. It was from Hazel, her fellow student and longtime friend at the academy, a paladin of the Vatican devoted entirely to eradicating dark magicians. The letter conveyed that the Countess' daughter would return tomorrow, having completed her mandatory service at the Vatican. Emily's mind flickered with both relief and apprehension, knowing that the return of such a devoted paladin could have significant consequences for what lay ahead. The next day, Emily waits eagerly for Hazel's arrival. When Hazel steps out of the carriage, she rushes forward and embraces her tightly. Hazel has missed her dearly all this time. She explains that she tried to return sooner, but the journey took longer than expected. She then teases Emily, asking if no troublemakers have picked a fight with her during her absence, like back in their academy days. Emily reassures her that while she was away, Natalia had been helping her, so nothing particular happened and there is no need for concern. She asks if Hazel has been in contact with her. She nods, saying Natalia mentioned having a prior appointment. Hazel scoffs, remarking that Natalia has always been self-centered anyway, so it hardly matters. She never expected her to show up in the first place. Emily gently tries to calm her down, saying there's no need to be upset and that they can enjoy their time together instead. Inside the dining area, Hazel curiously asks Emily about her siblings. Emily explains that they are all quite busy. Then, turning the question around, she asks Hazel if she has decided on her assignment location. Hazel replies that she will probably be sent to the Frost Tree Forest region. Emily hesitates, wondering aloud whether Hazel should really be sharing that, since such information is supposed to be confidential. Hazel only smiles and says that it is fine after all. she is telling it to Emily. While she is happy to be trusted, something inside her stirs uneasily. Every time she looks at Hazel, her heart flutters in a strange way. Perhaps this is what it feels like to face divine power, she thinks. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the mansion, Isaac's siblings are growing increasingly restless because of this same divine power. Isaac has never encountered paladins or priests before, so he did not realize how difficult this would be. Sarah complains bitterly, wondering why Emily had to call them to the mansion in the first place. Leon reminds her that she herself said it would raise suspicion if they suddenly refused or suggested meeting elsewhere. He urges her to endure just a little longer, since running into someone by chance outside could lead to disaster. Perhaps, he adds, they should get enhancements like Isaac did. Sarah grudgingly agrees, saying at least Isaac looks somewhat normal now. She suggests that they should ask Emily about it tomorrow, but then stops mid-sentence as Isaac suddenly falls silent. Both Leon and Sarah grow tense at Isaac's stillness. His body begins to twitch slightly, and his eyes turn a deep, unsettling red. Back in the dining area, Emily hears faint noises coming from somewhere within the house. Hazel, noticing her reaction, wonders aloud if someone else is there. Emily replies that yes, Leon is around, though Sarah is on leave, probably conducting one of her strange experiments in her room. A quiet settles over the room, and Emily relaxes, grateful for the brief calm. But her peace is shattered when she catches sight of a pale hand dangling down from the window outside. Her eyes widen. Hazel is startled, unsure of what has alarmed her. Emily forces a strained smile, thinking that it would have been better if her siblings had shown some restraint, especially with a guest present. She sighs inwardly, realizing she will have to scold Sarah later for this. When Hazel finally departs, Emily sits alone for a moment, her thoughts tangled. She knows they absolutely must not be discovered. Hazel, on her way out, sighs softly, remarking that Emily is always too gentle with her twin. Emily wonders quietly to herself if that is true. Hazel insists it is, recalling how, when Emily first manifested her ability and behaved arrogantly before her, she had still been forgiven easily. Emily smiles faintly and tells herself it is better to let such things slide. She hopes Hazel will simply let go of those memories and not look back. The air inside feels heavy and stifling, so Emily suggests they take a short walk outside. Hazel rises, offering to open the window, but Emily reacts instantly, almost shouting for her not to. She hurriedly explains that the garden below is swarming with bees and that opening the window would only let them in. To distract her, Emily suggests they go to her room instead. Hazel used to sleep over there often, and Emily wants to relive those moments together like they did back then. She grabs Hazel's hand eagerly, urging her to hurry. Hazel, half laughing, asks why Emily seems in such a rush. But the moment they open the door, strange noises echo from the corridor beyond. Hazel freezes and asks, in a low voice, if Emily had not said that no one else was in the house besides Sarah and herself. Emily hesitates, replying that yes, that is true. Perhaps Sarah dropped something, maybe a book. But Hazel shakes her head. That was not the sound of a book falling, it was the sharp, brittle crack of something breaking. A chill runs down Emily's spine as the sound echoes again. Hazel's gaze sharpens. There might be an intruder in the house. Emily forces a nervous smile, knowing all too well that whatever it is, this will not end well. Hazel intends to go upstairs and check the source of the noise, but Emily stops her, her voice trembling slightly. The sounds at the door grow louder, echoing through the hallway. Hazel, growing cautious, tells Emily to stay back. It could be dangerous. But before she can take another step, Emily shouts again, desperation clear in her tone. There is something she has not told Hazel yet. Hazel pauses, confused, but it's already too late. She has opened the door. Emily's words tumble out in panic. She tries to explain that Sarah's so-called alchemy practice was a lie and that there is actually a far more serious situation at hand, one she has been hiding. She begins to confess that it involves her brother, but the sentence never finishes. Hazel freezes as she sees what lies beyond the door. Isaac and Leon are standing there locked in an embrace. Hazel's eyes widen in disbelief before she immediately shuts the door again, her face turning crimson. She turns to Emily, utterly bewildered, and asks if there is some sort of relationship between Isaac and Leon, if that is the secret she has been hiding all along. Emily, mortified and flustered, blushes so hard her cheeks burn. For a moment, she thinks it might be better to let Hazel misunderstand rather than try to explain the truth. She forces herself to nod and softly says yes. Inside, she's barely holding back a laugh at how absurd the situation has become, but she tries to keep her composure, pretending to be solemn. Hazel, still shaken, narrows her eyes suspiciously. She asks if Emily isn't just making this up. After all, she has been visiting this house since they were children and never noticed anything like that between the two men. Emily insists that Hazel's suspicions are understandable, which is precisely why she never said anything before. When Emily asks if she can see Leon's face for a moment, Leon hesitates, peeking out nervously. The moment Hazel catches sight of the faint scar running down his neck, she gasps, blurting out an awkward apology before quickly closing the door again. She mutters that Emily had better be more careful next time. The air between them grows unbearably awkward. After a moment of silence, Hazel decides to leave, muttering her goodbyes as she steps out. Once she's gone, Emily finally exhales, relief and exasperation mixing within her. Inside the room, the chaos has subsided somewhat. Isaac and Leon are tied up for their own safety, while Sarah stands nearby, rubbing her temples. Emily demands to know what exactly happened. Sarah shrugs helplessly, none of them are sure. Isaac suddenly changed, she explains. He kept trying to run downstairs, and Leon suspects he was trying to reach Hazel. Emily approaches Isaac and gently touches his pale face. Sarah is startled when she notices a faint smile appear on his lips. Levi, observing quietly, explains that such behavior is instinctual for a familiar to approach and protect its master. Emily frowns, realizing what this means. She turns to Levi, asking how he even came here, knowing how dangerous it is for him to be within the mansion. Levi ignores her question and insists she stop deflecting. He explains that Isaac's sudden state was likely triggered by divine energy. Since Emily had used black magic during the last incident, Isaac's reaction this time was stronger. As zombies, they are naturally vulnerable to holy power, which disrupts their control and drives them to madness. If she hadn't been near Hazel, he might have completely lost his mind. Emily silently decides that she must keep secret the fact that Isaac's familiar had instinctively tried to protect its master. Levi, meanwhile, looks both frustrated and impressed. He mutters that it's maddening how no one can hear what Isaac is truly saying, but still, who would have imagined Emily could lie so flawlessly? Her life, after all, is already built upon lies. One more change is nothing. He knows that better than anyone, yet he still finds himself angry about it every single day.